Hi, it's Penny here, and today we're going to be doing the Shades of Magic book tag, which was created by Roger Reads. I will leave his link down below, and I think he's part of like a Shades of Magic read-along. I've also been doing my own reread because very soon we have the new spin-off series coming out, or the first book coming out. That is the Fragile Threads of Power. I think it'll be about a day away once I upload this video. And I have also like decimated my Victoria Schwab shelves in order to prepare. Because what I'm going to try and do for this book tag is for each prompt, I'm going to recommend you a book not only that meets the prompt, but that I think readers of Victoria Schwab would like. So I'll try and give you some comparisons as we go, but let's just get into the reading prompts. So each of the prompts is based on a different magical word that is used in the Shades of Magic series. Firstly, we're going to start with as Travars, which is used to travel between worlds, and the prompt is a book or series that transports you to another world. And for this, I'm going to recommend a series that I think is probably the most popular one on this list, and that is the Mistborn trilogy. I recently reread this, and I just really love the world building. I think it just feels like a different place, and as well, all the characters feel very real, and the stakes are very high, so you immediately feel immersed in everything that's happening. And just while I was reading this, I couldn't wait to get through it, and I can't wait to get back into this world for Mistborn Era 2 when I get to that part of my Mistborn reread. So I got a few rereads going on. If you haven't heard about the series, basically it's set in a post-apocalyptic type world where the bad guy one, the Lord Ruler, is this dictator who rules over the world, and we're following this crew who have certain magical abilities trying to take him down. So the magic in this world is mostly based around metals. We have elementers who are able to swallow metals and gain particular powers depending on the metal, and the Mistborn are people who can use all the powers. So the reason I would specifically recommend this for Schwab readers is recently, during my Darker Shade of Magic read, I did think that the way the magic systems are kind of set up have some similarities, and the characters are also somewhat similar in terms of we've got some morally grey characters. And also I think the main characters are quite young and struggling with a lot of similar issues. So Mistborn is my first answer. The next prompt is as Hasari, which means to heal, and for this we want a book or series that healed you or gave you catharsis or helped you escape when you needed it. For this I'm going to go with The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. This is kind of a dark academia story where we have this man, he's a politician, and because he went against the party's beliefs, he has basically been kicked out, fired, and exiled back to the school that he went to. The school is a school of the game, and throughout this book series you never really know what the game is, but it's kind of like composition, storytelling, religion, science, all kind of stuck together, but it also clearly states that it's not any of those. I really love the abstractness of all of that, but also within this we have excerpts of this politician's school diary, and you're getting his relationship with this other boy that he went to school with. They were both really good at the game, and it's about their competition but also their relationship. And then as they're older, his relationship now with this boy's sister, who was the first woman principal of the school, and because of stuff that happened while he was at school, there's some tensions between them. I really loved it. I don't know if it was just the moment in time. I just finished up my job, and so I think I related to a lot of his issues with having just finished up a job that he didn't particularly like. But more, I think I just loved the abstractness of the game and his relationship with this brother and sister. But I think the Schwab book that I would compare this to would be The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I think just some of the stuff going on with Addie LaRue is quite abstract in a similar way to the game, and I also think some of the relationships in this have similar vibes, and they're both kind of like beautiful and dark books. Anyway, read The Betrayals because I loved it. Then we have as Tascen, which is to travel within a world, so a book or series set in our world or a version of it. For this, I'm going to go with Roses and Rock by Kat Howard. This is a story, another dark academia one kind of as well. So in this one, we have two sisters who had a somewhat abusive mother. The older one escaped first and has always kind of felt bad about that, but also the other one felt abandoned. But now they're both very creative. I think one's a dancer and one's a writer. I never remember this. But basically they go to this special school. They're entered into this special program, and there is a prize that they are both competing for. But there is also a darker side to that prize that they're both trying to protect each other from. And I just really like the angst. They're living together with these two other girls, and they're so passionate about their art, but they also have so many struggles. Victoria Schwab has never written a book with Faye in it, but I feel like if she did, it might be something like this. I felt like the way that the characters really worked through their struggles, or experienced their struggles, was similar to the way that Schwab writes her characters. Then we have as Steno, which means to break. So a book series that broke you or made you cry. So for this, the first thing that came to mind actually was the Realm of the Elderling series. However, I feel like that's very different from Victoria Schwab works. So the book that made me cry like the second most out of all the books on my shelves would be the last book in the Half-Bad trilogy. So this is about a boy who is half Black Witch, half White Witch, and because of that, he's really persecuted and there's a lot of prejudice against him. Everybody's really expecting him to turn out evil like his father, but throughout the book series you kind of learn that there is corruption on both sides, and Nathan's just honestly throughout the book just struggling to find a way to be happy, but so often being put in a position where he can't be. And in the last book I just bore my eyes out. It's a really interesting world, and again, like, Victoria Schwab hasn't, that I can think of. No, she has. She has written one book that was kind of witchy, but that was right near the beginning of her career. I feel like if she wrote a new witchy book, it would be similar to this. As well, I think the way the powers work are a little bit similar to the way the powers work in Vicious, not in terms of how people get their powers. In this, when you're 16, I think you get 3 gifts and some blood from your parents, and that activates your powers, whereas in this, I never know if it's spoilers to say, but there's another mechanism. But the powers are still quite personal to the individual, and that's the similarity, I think, between these books. And probably just the angst. Then we have As Pyrata, which means to burn, and for this, a book or series with spice or romance that does it for you. As you may know, I don't particularly like romance books or spicy books. However, sometimes, if it's done right, I can like the betrayals that I already mentioned. I think for this prompt though, what I'm going to go with is the Hidden Legacy series by Alona Andrews. Alona Andrews is one of my most favorite authors, and this series, like, shouldn't be judged on its covers. So from this, you might think it's very spicy. It's not really. It's more about the magic, but there is a little bit in there. And the way it's done, I don't mind it. This basically follows a family of private investigators in this world where magical abilities are genetic. And certain families have both a lot of magical power as well as political power. But this family is really just trying to make ends meet. But through certain murder investigations that they get involved in, they end up in a quite powerful position themselves, because it turns out that they do have quite a lot of magical ability. So the oldest sister, which the first trilogy follows, she is able to tell whether people are telling the truth or not. And then the second sister, which there's another trilogy for, as well as a novella in between, she's able to make people fall in love with her. And I just really love the way that Alona Andrews uses those abilities. And as well, I think the series just has a really great dynamic between the different family members. And the romance isn't too bad as well. So I think I'd probably compare this one most to A Darker Shade of Magic, just in terms of those family dynamics. And this, it's more of a found family versus a real family, but still, I think the way the characters interact with each other sometimes is really fun in these books, and it's definitely fun in the Alona Andrews books. And again, I just think the magic has a tangibility to it that's similar to this series, and maybe Vicious as well. Then we have As Herena. Don't know, but that means to give, and this is a book or series you want to give to all of your friends and family. This is hard because, to be honest, all my friends and family have different reading tastes, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend a single thing to them. But the best thing I have is the Monk and Robot series by Becky Chambers, because I just thought this was beautiful, as well as having a really beautiful message. So this is about this tea monk who's kind of just really been struggling with a lack of purpose in their life. So they go out just to get out of the city, go somewhere new, try something new. And when they're out there, they run into this robot called Mosscap. Mosscap has basically come back as a representative of the robots, because in this world, the robots basically decided they didn't want to have anything to do with humans, and they went out into the forest and they said to the humans, please, just if you could never talk to us again, that would be great. and so the humans have really had to figure out how to live without a lot of technology and live more at peace with nature. And I think that aspect of this book was beautiful, but as well when Dex and Moscap meet up and just their interactions, talking about the human experience versus the robot experience. It's just a lovely book, and I think as well just a beautiful message about living a comfortable life. So I think most people could find some joy in these books. And I don't know exactly how I would compare that to Victoria Schwab ones, because I don't know, actually, that there's a lot of joy in Victoria Schwab's books. She's more about the struggles. However, maybe I could compare it or contrast it to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because this is also about, I guess, finding purpose in your life. Specifically, Addie LaRue is struggling with how to make an impact on the world, which is almost the opposite of this. This is like being happy without having to do big things, whereas Addie LaRue would like to do big things but struggles with it for reasons. But I think if you want a book about finding purpose in your life, both of those could do. Then we have As Tosal. I don't know how to pronounce things, but this means to confine. So this is a book or series you want to put in confinement. It's a bit hard to find one that I think Victoria Schwab readers would like, but I think what I'm going to go with is The Lies of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. I really love this. However, the first 3 books of the series have been released, and then every year I think there's rumours that we're going to get the next book. It never eventuates. I think Scott Lynch has said he might get us a novella next, which again means the 4th book is further away. So for that reason, this book series goes into confinement while we wait. But I still do really love this series. We're basically following Locke Lamora and his band of thieves as they try to execute different cons. Every book there's a different con, but also in every book they learn a little bit more about some bigger magical conspiracies going on in the world. And I think I would actually compare this mostly to A Gathering of Shadows, because in this we get a little bit of pirates. I actually haven't done my reread of Conjuring of Light. I think we might get more pirates in this. And the second book in the Gentleman Bastard series is all about pirates. As well, we have morally grey characters and some really nice character dynamics that I think have some similar vibes. And I do think that you can enjoy this series even though it's frustrating that we haven't got more of it yet. And then lastly, we have As Athera, which means to grow. And for this, we want a book or series that helped you grow or expand your mind. I struggled with this one a bit, but what I've come up with is Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergei Dyachenko. So this is another one with some dark academia vibes. We're basically following this girl named Sasha, and she goes on holiday with her mother. While she's there, she meets this man who starts giving her strange tasks, and through doing these special tasks she earns her place at the Institute of Special Technologies, where they're kind of learning magic. In the beginning, again, they just turn up at the school and they're given very strange things to learn, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But there were just parts of this book, even though they didn't make sense, that just really make you think, and just parts of it have really stuck with me. It goes into such strange directions and just like builds. I love books that start out with things that feel like they don't make sense, but they build on themselves so that then you get into things that kind of make even less sense, but because of the foundation make a lot of sense, if that makes sense. Anyway, I love Vita Nostra. I don't know that I can actually compare it to Victoria Schwab's works, but maybe The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, because like Addie LaRue, our main character mostly feels very alone in everything that she's experiencing, and everything she's experiencing is so strange, like what Addie LaRue is doing. And again, we have the struggles. That's what we get a lot of from Schwab, right? Anyway, that is the tag. If you're a bookish creator, then you are tagged. Maybe I'll sort my life out enough to tag some actual people down below. But do let me know if you have read or have any thoughts about any of the books that I've mentioned in this video, or let me know if you're excited about the Fragile Threads of Power. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are doing well, and I will see you next time.